Have you ever felt like someone was watching you? That eerie sensation when the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, but when you turn around, no one is there. Throughout human history, across cultures and civilizations, people have reported this mysterious feeling. The ancient Romans called it oculus malignus, the evil eye. The Japanese refer to it as senburi, meaning 1,000 stares. But what if I told you this sensation might actually be rooted in something far more profound than ancient superstition? What if there truly is someone who sees every move you make, knows every thought you think, even before you're conscious of it yourself? In 2017, a fascinating study at the University of Sydney found that humans can detect when they're being watched with about 60% accuracy, significantly higher than random chance. Scientists still debate whether this represents a genuine sixth sense or just heightened sensitivity to subtle environmental cues. But ancient wisdom has long known what modern science is only beginning to explore: we are known, deeply and completely. The Hebrew King David explored this profound reality nearly 3,000 years ago in what we now know as Psalm 139. Written around 1000 BCE, this extraordinary poem delves into the intimate relationship between humanity and divinity, expressing with striking imagery how God knows us completely, our thoughts, our actions, our very essence. Today, we'll journey through this ancient text, exploring its timeless insights about divine omniscience and human significance. We'll discover how a poem written 3 millennia ago speaks directly to our modern questions about surveillance, privacy, identity, and purpose. Part 1, The Divine Searcher, verses 1 to 6. Psalm 139 begins with an acknowledgement that shatters any illusion of privacy. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up, you discern my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, O Lord, you know it altogether. You hem me in, behind and before, and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, it is high, I cannot attain it. The Hebrew word translated as searched here is chakar, which carries the connotation of thoroughly investigating or exploring. It's the same word used elsewhere in Hebrew literature for mining operations, digging deep below the surface to extract precious materials. David isn't describing casual observation but deep, penetrating knowledge. Consider the historical context of these words. In David's time, around 1000 BCE, the concept of privacy as we understand it didn't exist. People lived in small communities where everyone knew everyone else's business. Yet even in this communal setting, people maintained inner thoughts and secrets. David's insight was revolutionary, recognizing that God's knowledge extends beyond external actions to our innermost thoughts and intentions. The phrase, you hem me in, uses the Hebrew word, suah, which can mean to besiege or enclose. Some scholars interpret this as expressing anxiety at being so thoroughly known, but the context suggests something more nuanced. This encircling presence isn't threatening but protective, like a parent surrounding a child with care. David isn't lamenting God's knowledge but marveling at its completeness. What's particularly striking about these verses is the intimacy they convey. This isn't distant surveillance but intimate knowing. The God described here doesn't observe from afar but is personally involved, laying a hand upon the psalmist. The relationship described isn't that of a suspicious monitor and a reluctant subject, but of profound connection. In our modern world of digital footprints, data mining, and surveillance capitalism, these ancient words take on new resonance. We live in an era where tech companies track our online movements, algorithms predict our preferences, and cameras monitor public spaces. According to a 2023 report by the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the average person is captured on surveillance cameras 70 times per day and generates approximately 1.7 megabytes of data every second. But there's a crucial difference. While modern surveillance is often impersonal, algorithmic, and commercially motivated, the divine knowing described in Psalm 139 is deeply personal and rooted in relationship. It's knowledge with purpose and meaning. Part 2, Nowhere to Hide, verses 7 to 12. The psalm continues with a poetic exploration of divine omnipresence. Where shall I go from your spirit? Or where shall I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light about me be night, even the darkness is not dark to you, the night is bright as the day, for darkness is as light with you. The imagery here is striking. David imagines hypothetical escapes to the furthest conceivable places in the ancient Hebrew cosmology, the heavens above, Sheol, the underworld, below, and the distant seas. The phrase, wings of the morning, likely refers to the rays of the dawn sun spreading rapidly across the sky, suggesting the highest speed imaginable in the ancient world. The ancient Hebrews, like most pre-scientific cultures, had a three-tiered view of the cosmos: heaven above, earth in the middle, and the underworld below. By mentioning all three realms, David is essentially saying, anywhere in existence. And his conclusion remains the same: there is nowhere beyond God's presence. In David's time, darkness represented the ultimate hiding place. Without electric lighting, night created natural concealment. Yet David recognizes that even this universal hiding place provides no cover from divine perception. The Hebrew phrase translated as, darkness shall cover me, uses the word, shuv, which can mean to overwhelm or crush. David isn't just saying darkness might hide him but that it might completely envelope him, yet even this provides no concealment. Today, we've conquered physical darkness with artificial lighting. According to NASA observations, from 2012 to 2023, the Earth's artificially lit area grew by approximately 2% annually. Yet despite our technological triumphs over physical darkness, many people still long for places to hide, not from physical threats but from the relentless connectivity and exposure of modern life. A 2024 survey by the Pew Research Center found that 78% of adults feel they have little or no control over the personal information collected about them by companies, while 82% believe the potential risks of data collection outweigh the benefits. Our modern anxieties about privacy and surveillance echo the ancient reality that David confronted: the impossibility of complete concealment. But notice David's response to this inescapable presence. He doesn't express fear but assurance: even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me. For David, divine omnipresence isn't threatening but comforting, not surveillance but companionship. Part 3, Fearfully and Wonderfully Made, verses 13 to 18. The psalm now shifts to consider the origins of human life. For you formed my inward parts, you knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, my soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you, when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed substance, in your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them. How precious to me are your thoughts, O God! How vast is the sum of them! If I would count them, they are more than the sand. I awake, and I am still with you. Here, David contemplates the marvel of human development. The Hebrew term for inward parts is kilia, which specifically refers to the kidneys. In ancient Hebrew thought, the kidneys were considered the seat of emotions and desires, much as we might refer to the heart today. David is saying that God formed not just his physical body but his deepest emotional nature. The phrase, fearfully and wonderfully made, combines two powerful Hebrew concepts. Fearfully, suggests awe-inspiring respect, while wonderfully, pala, indicates distinction or separation, being set apart as special. Together, they express the unique marvel of human creation. Ancient Near Eastern cultures had limited understanding of embryology. The earliest known embryological studies date to ancient Egypt around 1500 BCE, primarily based on animal observations. Despite this limited scientific knowledge, David intuitively grasped the complexity and wonder of human formation. The imagery of being knitted and woven suggests an intricate, intentional process rather than random development. Modern embryology confirms the astonishing precision David poetically described. We now know that human development follows a precise genetic blueprint contained in DNA. Each person's genome contains approximately 3 billion base pairs of DNA, which if stretched out would measure about 6 feet in length but is packed into a nucleus just 6 micrometers in diameter. The human embryo develops from a single cell to approximately 37.2 trillion cells in an adult, with differentiation into over 200 distinct cell types. This microscopic choreography occurs with remarkable precision. From the first cell division approximately 30 hours after fertilization to the formation of the neural tube around day 22, human development follows an intricate sequence that scientists are still working to fully understand. By 8 weeks, all major organs have begun to form in an embryo smaller than a kidney bean. What David expressed poetically, we now understand scientifically. Human development is indeed a wonder of biological engineering. The reference to being formed in the depths of the earth uses imagery common in ancient Near Eastern creation myths, where humanity was often described as being formed from clay or earth. But David transforms this conventional imagery into a metaphor for the hidden processes of the womb. The mention of God's book, where all the days that were formed for me were written, introduces another profound concept, that the Creator not only knows our physical formation but our entire life journey. Ancient cultures frequently used the metaphor of divine record-keeping. In Mesopotamia, for instance, deities like Nabu were believed to record the deeds and destinies of humans on celestial tablets. Archaeological discoveries at sites like Nineveh have uncovered thousands of clay tablets dating from the 7th century BCE that document the Assyrian belief in divinely predetermined fates. Unlike these deterministic views, however, the Hebrew understanding maintained a tension between divine foreknowledge and human responsibility, a mystery David doesn't attempt to resolve but simply marvels at. The Psalms' mention of thoughts, more numerous than the sand, uses a common ancient Hebrew metaphor for uncountable quantity. When Abraham was promised descendants, as numerous as the sand, Genesis 22 verse 17, the same concept was invoked. Modern oceanographers estimate there are approximately 7.5 quintillion grains of sand on Earth, a fitting metaphor for divine thoughts beyond enumeration. Part 4, Righteous Indignation, verses 19 to 22. The tone of the psalm shifts dramatically in its fourth section. O that you would slay the wicked, O God! O men of blood, depart from me. They speak against you with malicious intent, your enemies take your name in vain. Do I not hate those who hate you, O Lord? And do I not loathe those who rise up against you? I hate them with complete hatred, I count them my enemies. This abrupt shift has troubled many readers. After such lofty contemplation of divine knowing and human formation, why this sudden outburst against enemies? Understanding this section requires historical context. David lived approximately 3,000 years ago in a tribal society where collective identity was paramount. The concept of distinguishing between a person and their actions was less developed. Furthermore, as king, David bore responsibility for maintaining justice and protecting his people. The wicked, and men of blood, he refers to likely represented genuine threats to the community's survival. The ancient Near East during the early first millennium BCE was characterized by frequent warfare. Archaeological evidence from sites like Lachish, which was destroyed around 701 BCE, reveals the brutal reality of ancient conflicts. Assyrian relief carvings explicitly depict the torture and execution of enemies. Against this backdrop of violence, David's concern about enemies was hardly theoretical. It's worth noting that David frames his hostility not in terms of personal vendettas but as opposition to those who oppose God. The Hebrew concept of hate, sein, in this context often carried connotations of standing against, rather than emotional animosity. David positions himself in alignment with divine values, rejecting those who reject divine authority. This passage reflects what scholars call an imprecatory element, calling for divine judgment. Such elements appear throughout ancient Near Eastern literature, including Babylonian texts like the Ludlul Bel-Mekhi from approximately 1500 to 1000 BCE, which similarly appeal to divine justice against wrongdoers. For modern readers, this section presents challenges. Our contemporary ethics typically emphasize forgiveness over retribution, and we distinguish more clearly between opposing ideas and wishing harm on people. Yet even here, we might recognize the underlying human longing for justice, for a world where evil doesn't triumph and the vulnerable aren't exploited. A 2022 global survey by the World Justice Project found that 85% of people worldwide live in countries where rule of law has declined in recent years. The human cry for justice that David expressed remains powerfully relevant in our time. Part 5, Search Me Again, verses 23 to 24. The psalm concludes with a remarkable invitation. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts. And see if there be any grievous way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. After acknowledging God's complete knowledge of him, celebrating divine craftsmanship in his creation, and expressing righteous indignation against enemies, David circles back to where he began divine searching. But now, this searching isn't just acknowledged, it's invited. The Hebrew word for search here returns to chakar, that deep, thoroughgoing investigation. But now David actively requests this searching, asking God to examine his heart and thoughts. The term translated, grievous way, is derek-otsev, in Hebrew literally, way of pain, or way of sorrow. David asks to be shown any path in his life that leads to harm. This concluding request reveals remarkable self-awareness. Despite his earlier expressions of righteous indignation, David recognizes his own fallibility. Having just declared his hatred for God's enemies, he pauses to consider whether his own ways might sometimes be grievous. This humility marks the difference between righteous conviction and self-righteousness. The way everlasting, derek olam, refers not just to duration but to quality, a path aligned with eternal values rather than temporary concerns. The ancient Hebrews, like many ancient cultures, often conceptualized ethical choices as paths or ways. Archaeological excavations at Qumran, where the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered, revealed that the community there referred to themselves as followers of the way, emphasizing that spiritual life was a journey along a particular path. Conclusion: known and loved. Psalm 139 presents us with a profound paradox. On one hand, we are completely known, our thoughts, actions, origins, and destinies all transparent to divine perception. There is nowhere to hide, no aspect of ourselves that remains concealed. Such knowledge could be terrifying if in the wrong hands. Yet David's response is not fear but wonder. He doesn't flee from this knowing presence but invites deeper searching. The psalm reveals a fundamental truth at the heart of spiritual experience, that being fully known can be the gateway to being fully loved. Modern psychology confirms this insight. Research published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology in 2023 found that authentic self-disclosure, allowing oneself to be deeply known, correlates strongly with relationship satisfaction and personal well-being. We long to be known, even as we sometimes fear exposure. The ancient wisdom of Psalm 139 speaks directly to our contemporary tensions around privacy, surveillance, authenticity, and connection. In a world where we simultaneously overshare on social media while jealously guarding our true selves, David's words remind us that true intimacy requires allowing ourselves to be known deeply, completely, and honestly. 3,000 years after David penned these words, we still navigate the delicate balance between privacy and connection, between hiding and being known. Technology has transformed how we're known by others through data points, social media profiles, and digital footprints. But the fundamental human desire to be authentically known and loved remains unchanged. Perhaps the enduring power of Psalm 139 lies in its affirmation that we are not merely known but known with purpose, formed with intention, led with care, and invited into the way everlasting. In a universe vast beyond comprehension, we are not anonymous data points but beings of significance, known by name. And so the ancient question echoes into our present: will we hide from being known, or will we, like David, invite the searching gaze that sees us completely and loves us anyway? Before you go, I want to personally invite you to be part of our growing community here at Prayer Universe. If this video touched your heart or brought you peace, take a moment to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a prayer or message that can uplift your spirit. But most importantly, I'd love to hear from you. In the comments below, share just one word or phrase of motivation that this video inspired in you, whether it's hope, gratitude, peace, or something else. Your words matter deeply to us because they help guide the content we create for this channel. Together, let's build a space filled with faith, encouragement, and connection. Thank you for being here, and remember, every prayer counts. See you in the next one.